gentlemen. Welcome back to the Smart Tech Revolution. I am your host, Mr. Donnie Wonderful. And like I said in the previous video, it won't take long for me to come back at you with another video. Still off of the hangover from Sunday evening. Um, as I mentioned in the previous video where I talk about how the 1998 Hell in a Cell, watched a lot of wrestling documentaries last night, and this actually instigated this thought process that I have now. So, the Attitude Era. I've actually been thinking about this a lot. Um, Time and time again, we go to shows, we go to events, we go to fests and cons, and my esteemed colleague, Mr. Joey Business, shout out to him. We always come across wrestling fans, and everyone talks about it and shares their own nostalgic moments of being a wrestling fan. And I think that everyone has a consensus agreement that the Attitude Era was their favorite, except for me. Now, I love the Attitude Era, and I equate it to what was going on in that era. Um, I'm pretty sure, all of our lovely supporters, subscribers. By the way, don't forget to like the video. But I'm pretty sure we've all seen several takes on the Attitude Era, as well as several documentaries on them as well, both fan made and television produced. And everyone to mention the what was in during those years, like the Jerry Springers, that type, Howard Stearns, like the shock jock and the shock television, the shock value television. All of that was in. So when they were doing this in the Attitude Era, it kind of blended in what was going on, what was hot back then. But and I know he passed away recently, but let's just say over the past like 5 years, what was the same people, all of us that were around then and that we raved over the Attitude Era. What do you think of the Jerry Springer show and Howard Stern now? Like you feel like it's had its heyday in the 90s, when it was at its peak and it never reached that again. And that is a concept that I agree with wholeheartedly. And myself and Jim Cornette share that sentiment about the Attitude Era. Second, I often notice how when people that I've spoken to talk about how great the Attitude Era was, they mention promos or they mention certain angles, but they very rarely mention the wrestling. And I'm pretty sure there's some of you out there that really, 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 really appreciate the classic matches that occurred in the Attitude Era. But I've noticed just in my encounters with other contemporaries and just regular wrestling fans that whenever they talk about the Attitude Era, they talk mainly about those highlighted promos, or yeah, like the spectacles. I mean Tyson, Austin, the Rocks promos, all those things, a lot of DX stuff, or they mention the factions and all of that, in which I agree. But when I talk about, hey, look, the new generation was dope. Look what we was having. We was getting Bret Hart and 1, 2, 3 Kid on Raw. We would get like, we were getting Razor Ramon's first Intercontinental title win on Raw over the model Rick Martel. And look at the build up to that. Sean stripped of the belt, refused to hand the belt in. They have a battle royal. Where the last two are going to wrestle on Raw the next week is a perfect setup. And like there are things like that I reference that I've noticed that people who love the Attitude Era that you guys never do. I mean, I can, like there were tons of great matches in the Attitude Era as well, but what we highlight the most is exactly that, the attitude. It was It was an interesting time. You know, a lot of people were watching wrestling compared to today. A lot of people were watching wrestling. That's why in their prime, and I'll never forget seeing this on the news. It was like on Dateline or something. I'll never forget hearing that Stone Cold Steve Austin was more popular than Hulk Hogan was in his prime. And what Hulk Hogan did for wrestling in the 80s and the 90s, I thought could never be topped, could never be matched. He was the Michael Jordan of this industry. And here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin to trump him. Then The Rock, like Shawn Michaels, DX, all those guys, Nation of Domination. We had in that era some great talent. Kane, that storyline, all of that is within that. But we don't really highlight those matches as much. And I was along for the ride, and I loved every second of it. In the midst of the Monday Night Wars, things were heating up. From my understanding, even the guys in the back wanted to top each other. No, there was a standard, okay, for you pervs. There was a standard that they wanted to maximize and excel. I remember and this spot was interesting, because it left a lot for the imagination, but even the birth of the New Age Outlaws, putting uh Mick Foley or Cactus Jack at the time and Terry Funk or Chainsaw Charlie in the garbage disposal and throwing it off the ramp. And when Shawn Michaels and HBK confront sorry, when HBK and Triple H, too many H's, all right, damn it. Shawn Michaels and Triple H, they go in the back and they confront him. I remember Road Dogg, had with the look of guilt on his face, but Sean was saying, "What? You get these ratings." It was that type of television. It was that type of television. Unfortunately, you did all the hardcore extreme stuff, so now we're desensitized to it. And that was the issue. So because I can distinctly remember Bret Hart, my favorite wrestler, so I'm gonna reference him a lot. And he wasn't the only one that did this. But Survivor Series, rather, 1995. Bret Hart versus Diesel. When Bret Hart went through that that table, that right there was the OMG moment of probably the entire year. When he crashes through the table, no monitors moved, nothing, off the apron. Today, that happens all the time. If you go to an ECW show, you might get that maybe about a minimum of 8 times. This happens all the time. Like now, I mean that just became the thing. But like when it was fresh, and new. It was done sparingly. It was only done maybe one time in a show. Yeah, it was done one time. So towards the end of the new generation transitioning over to the Attitude Era, Ahmed Johnson did that to D'Lo Brown. He gave him the Pearl River plunge on the roof of a car first, and then at the Royal Rumble, he gave him the Pearl River plunge through the table. And they showed that clip over and over and over and over and over. And then when you get to the Attitude Era, you see that every week. S- So much so that now it's damn near a part of wrestling. It's damn near a part of any match. Oh, let's send them to the announce table. That's nothing new. But like when it meant something, and when it enforced uh the the aggression in a match, it was golden, and you had that in the new generation era. I just believe that the new generation era, and there's a video on this channel where I talk about this, but I believe that the new generation era had great wrestling, great wrestling. 3 times. So you caught that. Hope you all got that. Not to say that the other generations that preceded it didn't, and the other ones that followed it did. Not to say that. Attitude Era had some great classic matches as well. I never hear, and I'm not going to say we, I'm not speaking French, I'm just going to speak for myself. I very rarely hear those matches get referenced whenever we have sorry, whenever I have encounters with people that brag and rave about the Attitude Era. We all are caught up in the aura of it. And I remember it. The aura and mystique of it was great. But what are your highlights of it? I would love to hear it. What are your honest highlights of the Attitude Era? Leave it in the comment section. It can be, it can be, it can be, what am I saying? It could be promos. It could be factions forming. It could be all of that. I'll take it. But I also want to hear your matches. 'Cause I was there. Remind your boy Donnie Wonderful. And I'll stop the video here. Let us know in the comment section, what are your highlights of the Attitude Era? I can't wait to engage with you all.